For more on the ANC's January 8 celebrations this coming weekend, we now speak to political analyst Asanda Ngoasheng, and she joins us now via our video link. Asanda, thank you so much for your time this evening here on SABC News. Now, the ANC is preparing to hold its January 8 celebrations, and of course, before that takes place, they interact with the community of where they will be presenting that January 8. But I want to deal with the location first. For this year's January 8, they've chosen the Western Cape. Do you think that following, the 2024 elections, that it was a good move to take it all the way to the Western Cape?
Well, it makes sense that they would take it to the Western Cape because remember, the ANC is in essence a wounded animal because it got its lowest vote turnout and its lowest vote essentially in the national election. And so it's trying to show that it's a political party that has national resonance and that has national relevance and that it can bring people out for, to come and celebrate with it, regardless of where it is in the country. We know it's got the lowest votes in the Western Cape. And I think it is for them a good thing to come, even though they don't have the highest resonance within the Western Cape. They can't, obviously, as a political party, give up any space or any part of South Africa because they are still the government of South Africa in 2024, despite only having gotten 40%.
And talking about, the amount of votes it garnered nationally, in the Western Cape, it garnered at least 21.34% of the vote. And when you listen to some of the voxies in the package we just played, and, with the woman speaking there, saying that the ANC is out of touch with the community. It's forgotten about its people. It's forgotten, how it actually ascended to being the majority party in the country. And when you look at comments of that nature, how does it begin, to mobilize and to show people that, it's still the ANC of the past?
Well, I think, the first step that they've done, which is coming to the people, starting off by being in the Western Cape, despite the low votes that they got, also doing things like going to churches, because most Black people actually attend church and are Christians in this country. And so it's good that they're going to people, they're going to the places where people gather in their large numbers, and they're reminding people that they, as a political party, exist and they still want to garner votes. We are now officially in 2026, 1 year away from the municipal elections. And that means that the election campaign for the municipal elections has unofficially kicked off, because political parties know that they're going to need more than a year to be able to garner the kind of votes that they're going to need in this election, particularly with the threat of the MK party that took a big chunk of their votes in KZN. They're not going to be taking any chances by, not engaging or not going to any province in South Africa.
And the ANC has a jam-packed program for the rest of the week until it reaches Saturday. And as it continues, to do their door-to-door campaigns and interact with the people of the Western Cape, what should their message be really, this week as it builds up to the January 8th statement on Saturday?
Well, I think, as the old lady said, they need to remind people that at one point that they stood with the people and that they stood for the development and for the improvement of people's lives. And they need to remind people what it is that they have done for South Africa between 1994 and, where we are now in 2025, because that is what people are going to be interested to hear. And also they're going to need to tell people how in 2026 as well as in 2029 they plan to improve people's lives and how they plan to tackle particularly corruption. And of course, one of the biggest challenges would be to engage people on why and how the GNU government is relevant for them and what it is that it can deliver for them. And of course, one of the biggest things that the post 2024 election era has shown us is that despite the ANC's corruption and a lot of the problems that we complain about the ANC did give us political stability, which political parties like the MK and the various other political parties are showing us is not a given in politics, because for the longest time we as South Africans were living comfortably compared to the rest of the continent in terms of political instability. And what has been happening, particularly with the MK, the removal and putting in of new MPs and all the other various upheavals that we've seen within those political parties have shown us that of all the things that the ANC did wrong, one of the things that they did do was give us a stable government and give us some sense of stability as a country. And so they're going to have to keep reminding people of that and try to convince people that they've dealt with the main issues that led them to lose the elections in the first place, particularly corruption and leaders who don't care about people and who cannot and will not be held accountable.
And when it comes to the actual statement that will be delivered by Party President Cyril Ramaphosa on Saturday, what are your expectations from that statement?
Well, I think, Cyril Ramaphosa is going to pretty much go along the lines of what I've highlighted by ensuring that they let the people, particularly of the Western Cape, know what it is that national government has done and how national government has stepped in where, the Western Cape government has failed. And I think they're also going to emphasize the issue of political stability that the ANC has brought, as well as, of course, as every speech that the ANC does, they remind us of what it is that they've done between 1994 and 2020 and 2025, where we are now. And so that is likely to be the path that they will walk, over and above, of course, reminding people how we come to have this January 8th statement and the history of the ANC in these more than 100 years that they've been a political party for, and what it is that has helped them to withstand the test of time. Because we're seeing in South Africa, and we're seeing that political parties can be a very short-lived entity, and somehow the ANC has managed to survive for more than 100 years, despite having been, a banned political party during apartheid. And so it's going to be interesting to see how they can tell people and show people that they are willing and able to continue the movement that is the ANC, beyond even 2029.
And this message from the ANC, during a time where we find ourselves in a government of national unity, how will it also find its resonance within the government of national unity, where it's not the majority anymore?
Well, I think it's interesting to hear, Paul Mashatile talk about how, the people of the Western Cape are, forgotten, and how it's not an ANC government within the Western Cape. So it's very interesting. It was interesting for me to hear how very lightly he was treading around those issues, because, of course, the DA is one of their partners in the GNU, and that's going to be the difficulty, to convince the people of Khayelitsha that, yes, the GNU is good, thereby, I suppose, in some ways endorsing the DA by doing that. So they're going to have to do the difficult task of saying that the GNU is good and this is why, but also saying the ANC is still a good party and this is why the ANC is a good party. And of course, try to convince people that the way to go is to vote for the ANC outright, so that we don't need to have a GNU, because that obviously would be the most ideal situation for the political party like the ANC, and of course all the other political parties would obviously want to govern without needing other political parties to back them to be in government.
All right, Asanda, thank you so much for your time. Surely a very difficult terrain that the ANC will have to navigate this coming weekend in the Western Cape. That is Asanda Ngoasheng. She is a political analyst, giving us her analysis when it comes to her expectations of the January 8th statement that will be held this weekend, where the ANC will be marking 113 years of existence.